1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, grappling with the text. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 17 to 19. A couple verses to wrap up what we talked about last time, which was suffering. Remember? Peter talked about the good works that we live according to the end, and then he talked about suffering, and he talked about when Jesus appears at the revelation of his glory. This word revelation, by the way, means unveiling, apocalypsis. There's something hidden. Let's just take a bushel. Remember a bushel basket? That's a nice looking bushel basket. And it's lifted up and it reveals underneath that there's a candle or something like that. Anyway, this revealing of things. Watch, I'm going to reveal our text like this. This unveiling of Jesus. Now, this is the second coming, and we're living in light of the second coming. And remember, the second coming means really two things. It means resurrection, and it means judgment. So the resurrection is a gathering, and the judgment is a separation. So all people will be gathered together, and then there'll be a division, sheep and the goats, and so forth. So that here it says, "For the time has come for judgment to begin with the household of God. If it begins first with us, what will happen to those who don't obey the good news of God? For if it's hard for the righteous to be saved, what will happen to the ungodly and the sinner?" This, by the way, is a quote from Proverbs 11, verse 31. I didn't think Proverbs was quoted in the New Testament. Well, there it is. In fact, I think it's twice in 1 Peter. Proverbs 11:31, which says this: "If it's hard for the righteous to be saved, what will happen to the ungodly and the sinner? Therefore, let them also who suffer," remember suffering, "according to the will of God in doing good, entrust their souls to Him," that is, to God, "as a faithful Creator." Now, I think this word is fascinating and curious. In fact, I'm not 100% sure why Peter uses this word and why he doesn't say entrust him as a faithful Savior or a faithful Redeemer, something like that. But he says as a faithful Creator. So we'll maybe explore that. But here this is the basic point, is that when Jesus comes, there will be a great judgment. And in fact, that judgment is working its way out now in preparation for the last day. This probably refers to the fact that when we die, we are judged. So that even if Jesus doesn't come back today, if I die today, that judgment will stand. And it says if it's hard for the righteous to be saved, in other words, if the Christians are saved, like a brand plucked from a fire, if the Christians are barely saved, what's going to happen to the ungodly and the sinner? There is certain punishment and judgment, a separation, an agony that comes, and so forth. Therefore, so it says, in light of the second coming, this, and also in light of the judgment that is to come, we suffer according to the will of God, and we do so entrusting our souls to Him as to a faithful Creator. Now, here's I think the basic point, is that when we hear about the second coming of Jesus, that this is for us both law and gospel. And as we suffer in the midst of this life, so here I am in the midst of suffering, living in this sinful world, that we look at the second coming both like this. As the gospel, we look at here comes our redemption. Here comes my rescue. Now is the day when there's no more tears, no more crying, no more suffering, no more any of these things. That Jesus is coming to rescue me from this suffering so that my joy gives way. Remember how we had it last time or the time before? That my joy gives way to exceeding joy. So that there's a way that we look back at the second coming as our great hope. This is our hope. There's also a way that we look back at the second coming knowing that judgment is coming, and we want to be found not in drunkenness or in laziness or chasing after our own desires, but we want to be found in service to the Lord. So that this, in this way, when we look at the second coming, it is an encouragement for us to be doing good works. So that Peter has already given us the gospel of the second coming, and now he's giving us the warning as well. Remember, judgment is coming. And how do you want to be found? Jesus talks about this when he tells the parable, that there's the master of the house, Lee entrusts his servants with all sorts of stuff, Here's some talents for this guy. That's what a bag of talents looks like, by the way. I know you didn't need me to tell you that. I know you saw that little blob there and you said, bag of talents. Like art. Anyhow. And the master goes away on a long journey, and he says if they would have known what time the master would return, they would not be found getting drunk and wasting their talents and doing all this sort of stuff. They would have been diligent. They would have known. So that this, the second coming reminds us that we are diligent as we have our eyes to the heavens, knowing that Jesus is coming for us. Now, we want to balance the... I don't know if balance is the right word, but so let's say that again. We want both of these, the law preaching of the second coming and the gospel preaching of the second coming, both to stand. We don't want to set them against each other. So we say, second coming, that's all good news. Don't be warned. Or we don't want to say, second coming, that's all law and warning, and don't have joy. We don't want to set them against each other. We want them both to stand because Jesus gives them both to us, and Peter brings them both to us. As we look to the coming of Jesus, it increases our hope, it gives us patience in the light of all this suffering, and it also encourages us that when the heavens open up and we see the face of Jesus coming in glory, that we are delighted that he's there because we're found busy about his work. Now, what is this here? That in doing so, that we suffer according to the will of God, and doing good, we entrust our souls to him as a faithful creator. I think this is especially a reminder of the death of Jesus. Remember when Jesus is dying, and he prays Psalm 31, and he says, Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. So that we, in the midst of suffering, entrust our souls to God as the one who created us, and as our creator, the one who knows us so perfectly that he knows what we can endure. If the Lord can number the hairs on our head, then he knows the amount of suffering that we can endure for his name's sake in this world. And so we entrust ourselves in the midst of suffering to him who made us in his own image. That's what I got. If you got thoughts on that, on why Creator is here, let me know in the comments. Comment on the other stuff. Remember, we're looking for the likes of 25 and comments of 25. That's the magic number. And also for the shares and subscribes, for joining the Lutheran Ninja Clan. You get ninja points for joining the Ninja Clan. You never find them because they're ninja points. Anyway, join that. Support the work of Worldview Everlasting. We're happy to bring all this stuff to you guys, and it's our pleasure to do it. Thank you. More of 1 Peter coming up next.
Hey, Internet. This is Jonathan Fisk, founder and host of Worldview Everlasting. Grappling is brought to you by Worldview Everlasting, a 501c3 nonprofit organization devoted to bringing you solid Christian free content via the Internet video waves. $5 a month joining the Lutheran Ninja Clan helps make all of this possible. So if you haven't done that and you've benefited from WeTV in the past, help make sure other people find this great content. Grappling, Lightning Cunts, Worldview Everlasting Live, Double Strikes, and more coming your way in 2018. The Lutheran Ninja Clan helps WeTV be what we are. Thank you for your prayers and your support.